Okay, what I'd like to talk about today is design using Dreamweaver. For the basic layout, what I'd like to do is bring in Photoshop, and I created a document 1024 by 768 pixels, 1024 wide, 768 deep, to represent a web page that we're going to design. So basically what we want to do is have, and I'm going to draw on this, where are we? Here we go. I'm going to draw on this. So assume that we wanted to have a header up top here, and this is our header, and this could be a graphic of some sort. And then we want to have our navigation either end here or just go all the way down to the bottom, either one, and these would be the links that go in here. And then we have some content that would be in here, and then we want to have a footer going all the way across the bottom. And so I would have this right here. Let's get rid of that for a minute. So the footer would go all the way across the bottom. The navigation is on the left, content's over here, banner's up top here. So let's do this layout in Dreamweaver and see where we come up with. So we have a header, we have a navigation, we have a content, we have a footer. What if we wanted to have all this floating in the middle of the page, meaning when someone increases their browser size, like this, the document stays in a fixed position, but the browser, you can see some edges on the browser. That we would consider encapsulating all of this inside a container or a wrapper. I've seen it referred to either or. It doesn't really matter what you call it. But basically all of your content is in one big division. And what I'm going to talk about in Dreamweaver is to create, I'm going to create a new file here, get into code view for a second, create a new page using divisions, separating our content just as you saw it in the Photoshop sample document that we had. So I created a new document. Here's our document. Right now there's nothing on it, and here's the body section. That's where the visible stuff is going to be. So if we go to design view, first we have nothing defined here. If you look at the properties, notice we have two buttons down here. One's for HTML, one is for CSS. If we click on the CSS button, we have no rules. So what we want to do is we want to create IDs for each one of these divisions. This is called a block level design. Here's one block, here's 2 blocks, 3 blocks, 4 blocks, and so forth. We want to name these blocks with an ID of some sort. Now you can name it with an ID or a class item, and we're not going to go there, but for the sake of this lesson, I'm just going to name them as all IDs. So I'm going to have an ID for each block that we're going to have in our design. The way we do that is we can edit the rule a couple of different ways, 3 different ways actually. Edit the rule, get a dialog box coming up that way. We can go up to Format, down to CSS, and click New Rule, same dialog box. If you have the CSS Styles palette open, you can go down here, right next to this link icon, New CSS Rule. You can click that, and the same dialog box comes up. Either of those methods works just as well. Choose a contextual selector for this type. Now, we're going to change it from class to ID. That's what I was just talking about. So I'm going to select the ID. I'm going to name it. First one was the banner. That was the header of the document. So I'm just going to name it banner as an ID. Click OK. For the type, I want Arial. Font size, the banner is going to be relatively large font size. Font color, let's choose a red. Trust me, this is going to be the ugliest design you've seen color-wise. This for the sake of getting through this here. Background color for that, let's choose a dark blue. The box itself, if our width is 1024, the width we can define as 900. That'll give us plenty of room on either side. The height, let's make it, actually make it, 200 is fine. And we're going to stop it there. Actually, no, we're not. For the padding, let's do 10 pixels. And what that does, I'm just going to click OK here for a second. What that does, I'm going to bring Photoshop back in here. If you have text inside this block, and let's assume, let's assume this is our 900 pixel wide block. If we start putting text, the text is going to go right up to this edge right here. If we indicate padding, that'll give us a little bit of space. And I put 10 pixels. So 10 pixels away from that edge is where the text is going to start. I said on the top, the sides, and the bottom. So the text is going to be 10 pixels away from the edge of this imaginary box. If I were to define a margin, that would be the outside dimension from this imaginary box. So that's what we're talking about here. Now, going back here, we notice we have one in the CSS Styles palette. We have banner declared. These are the attributes for the banner, or the style declarations. Now let's do the navigation. And again, choose one of the three formats. I'm just going to go up to insert a new style. Again, I'm going to choose ID. I'm going to name it nav for the ID name. Click OK. Type, I'm going to keep it with Arial, make it pretty standard. The font size for the navigation, we can do 14. Now you can change all of these if you want. For the background color for the navigation, if we have a deep blue for the header, let's do a kind of lightish blue for the navigation. For the box size, the width, I only want 200 wide. The height, let's say 500. Click OK. Format, new style, ID, content. This is the content box that we talked about. That would be right over there. Keep the font size the same. Font size for the content, you don't want it too big. Let's do 12. Background, where are we? Right there. Whoops, did I choose a font color? I did not. Font color, let's choose white. Background, and then the box width. The header is 900. The navigation is 200. Let's choose 700, and I'll show you what's going on in a second. Keep it the same height. Format. New. So we have the banner, the footer. Oh, we need the footer. Font family. Background. Let's choose right there. Box width 900, height, let's say 25. For the type size, rather, for the footer, let's choose 9. I don't want that too big. And then we can choose OK. I want to do one more, and whether we use it or not is depends on the size, time-wise rather. And whoops, yes, I have to name it. For the wrapper, it doesn't really matter. Choose 14. So we can choose dark gray. For the box, so if we did 900, let's do 950. Okay, for the height, we can do 800, which is okay. Now, what we're going to do now, so we have all our IDs. Whoops, and I did that wrong. That was a class item. Oh, that's okay. We have all our IDs here, except for the footer, which I made a class item. Not a big deal. Quite honestly, they are identical in terms of functionality. Just depends on how you declare them in your HTML page. So let's go back to code here. We have noticed that it inserted all of these into an internal style sheet, which is pretty cool. So it automatically added all of these for us. These are all our selectors, the ID selectors. These are all our style declarations for the style sheet. Everything's formatted properly. We don't have any copy yet. We don't have any ID and any divisions to make this work. what we can do is go up to the word insert and insert a tag. Under HTML tags and formatting, you'll find the div tag. Select that, choose insert, and it gives you the option to align it. Now you can say center, and what that's going to do is justify the center the text inside, either left, right, or centered inside the division. This is actually, believe it or not, improper web standards, and I'm going to show you why in a second. So I'm just going to leave that blank. Just click OK. And what that did, it inserted a division. I'm going to close this up for a second. So I can actually put this on a separate line because we have our opening body tag here. So here's our div, and if we select this and click, actually go back into design here, here's our div right here. It doesn't have any targeted rule. We're going to click on the HTML. Under properties, click on HTML, and under the ID, notice that we have all of the IDs that we defined, and actually I made a mistake on the footer. That would be under class. So if we select that, we can, well, yeah, there it is right there. So that would be under class. What I want for this one is the wrapper, and what that does is it creates this great big division right here, and that would be the wrapper. That would be 800 pixels high by 950 pixels wide. Inside that, I want to insert another division. Close. Now I'm going to, now I actually have this split view here, which actually makes it a little easier to see. So I have the division of wrapper, which is the opening tag is here and the closing one is here. Inside the wrapper, which is inside this wrapper right here, I have another division, and this division right here, if I go back to design view, notice that the box is inside here. I want to assign the header to that. Actually, it's called banner, and that will make it inside the wrapper. Now inside on that part, I want to insert another division or div element, and this time close. I'm going to make that, whoops, where are we? It's putting them too close here. So I have the wrapper and then the banner, and then I have another division. This one I want to, let's go back over here, I want to make that the nav. Now I'm going to click over here, right here. That's where I want the content. So I'm going to insert click right there, insert another div tag. This div tag right there, I'm going to make, whoops, come on, this one right here. I'm going to make, if it's if it allows me here. Okay, sometimes it doesn't cooperate. I want to make that the content. So actually what I can do, just, this is a whole lot easier this way. Now make it nav and make it content. And there's our content. Now notice the position is where I don't want it to be. And then finally, down the bottom, let's just cut to the chase here. Underneath the whole thing is going to be the footer, and I'll explain in a minute why this looks like this. Now, if I were to save this as index, I'll go index 4 because I think that's what we're up to here. Bring that over here, get Photoshop out of the way, open that up in my browser. That's what it looks like. Obviously, this is not what we want it to look like. I want this to be over here, and I want the whole thing centered. So how do we do that? Let's get the, it's called a float command. So I'm going to put a float on here. On the navigation, I want to insert one other command. It's called float. And if you double click this and do left and hit the semicolon, what that does, it floats everything to the left. Now if I save this and click over here, notice that the box is where it is, and I'm going to refresh my page. Bingo, there it is. Now you're going to be asking yourself, well, wait a minute, what's the space over here? I thought this and this were supposed to equal that, which it actually should. But what's going on in here is this was defined as the content. How wide was that? 700 pixels. This is actually 700 pixels from this point all the way over to here. So this is actually going behind the navigation. Now I don't want that to happen. So we're going to have to come up with a couple of different ways to deal with that. I could just increase this to 900 and that would kick this out, but that would be going behind this navigation. Technically you could do that, but you really don't want to. You want to have the box, actually I want to have a little bit of space in between each area here. So let's bring this back over here. And I'm going to talk about how to position these divisions right here. When we're talking about positioning, notice when I over-highlight, it highlights which element I'm doing. You can't see this one because that's behind it, and that's not what I want. I want to position this thing here. We can do that. Notice in the, actually we can do it in a couple of different ways. Click back on CSS here. You can, for the content, we can edit this rule, and it comes up with here, and we can go back to here, and notice that there is a positioning one here. Now if this, we can change it this way, or we can just change it directly in here, and I'll show you that it's going to automatically adjust here if we do this dialog box here. So this is 200. I know that I made that 200 pixels. So I want this content to be shifted over 200 pixels. Actually I want it a little bit more than that. That would be the margin. So the margin of this, I can have, now the placement I can say shift it over, or where was the box? There it is. I can say the margin. I don't want to do the same for all. From the left hand side, I want to shift it over 205 pixels. That's going to give me 5 pixels in between this one. Now if I click apply, notice what happens. Okay, that's more than 5 pixels obviously. What I want to do is select, that's 205 pixels from the left hand side, because our other elements are off to the left as well. And first, so that's how you adjust, actually let's step back for a second. That's how you adjust the positioning, and that was one of the criteria this week, how to adjust the positioning from the left, from the side, and so forth. We also have this wrapper that we have going on here, and I really didn't talk about that too much because we have it here that encompasses the whole thing. What I want to do is set the limits on this one. I want to have the margin on that one. So I'm going to click OK for a second. Click on wrapper here. Okay, and I want to edit the rule for the wrapper. For the box itself, we didn't do, actually we're going to keep same for all. From the top, I'm just going to do 10 pixels, And notice that it types them all. Click apply. Notice how everything's shifted down. That's really what I want to see. Everything's shifted down. So now the page itself is going to be in the way here. Now if I click save right here, bring this right back over here, click refresh. Notice what happened? It shifted over top and left. So we have our page and we have our box. And notice that I have a little bit of sliver inside here. Now how come it looks right here and it doesn't look like we're in Dreamweaver? Dreamweaver acts kind of weird when you're in the design view. You really can't rely on this too much. That's why when I'm designing web pages, I have it open up in the browser, make my changes, click save, refresh my browser window, and then I can see what's going on here. So we have our navigation, we have our content, and what happened to the footer? I think the footer I made the same. It might be down here. We just can't see it because I made it the same as the wrapper color. So let's click on footer. Let's see what's going on here. Whoops. Let's click on footer. And the background color. No, actually I made it lighter color. Let's choose red. We can't miss that. That would be the background color. Click save. Bring this back over here. And I think it's hidden behind here. Because we haven't, after our content ends, so after on the footer, I'm going to clear that float that was on the navigation. And still don't see it over there. Okay, after looking at this, I realize what's going on here. Notice I mentioned class and ID. There it is right there. That isn't an ID, it's a class. Save. And bring this back into view here. Notice it, there it is. There's our footer. Now, because we have 5 pixels in here, that doesn't match up. A couple of different things I can do. First, I want to bring these elements into play here. So I want to have a little bit of separation between them all. So I can either choose the bottom of this box or the top of these two boxes. I think I'm going to choose the bottom of that box. It's just one to play around with. So again, if you notice in here, when I put the clear float in here, that added over here. I could either do it over here or I could do it over here. Either way is up to you. For my banner, I want to add, the padding is already 10 pixels. I want to add a property. I want to add a width, a margin. And I'm going to put a margin of 5 pixels on all of them. So you just scroll down, click margin, and click in here, 5 pixels, and off we go. Notice that everything's shifted down here. Let me just save this just to see what it looks like. Click the refresh button over here. Bingo. See a little margin here, a little margin there. I still don't like this. I'm going to make that a little shorter, but we have a lot of space going on here. Now I'm going to shift these over. So I'm going to put a little 5 pixel margin on the navigation. And I'm also going to have to play with this content box over here too. So navigation right here. Again, margin on the left hand side, add a property. Margin left is 5 pixels. And there we go. And this content I'm going to have to, because right now if we save this, these two boxes are going to be back up on top of each other because I add 5 pixels here, but I didn't, this is only 205 away from the edge. So they're going to be back, there we go, back touching each other. So I have to kick this content over. Make that 210 from the left. So again, content 210. this is how we play and adjust with the layout. There we go. A little bit of sliver of a space there, a little bit of sliver of space there, sliver of space there, sliver of space there. We're getting a little bit better over here. And you can do the same thing for the footer. Okay, so that's how I'm already at 25 minutes here. I'm not going to drag this much longer. I just want to get the footer done just to show you what the basic element looks like. And this is called block level design. And again, this is all done in Dreamweaver, between the code view and the design view, mostly in the design view. But all of this can actually be done in the design view just by changing the declarations right here. So again, let's just choose the footer class item, and again, the width from the top, actually all of them, no, actually, yeah, all of them. So I can add, again, margin for everything is, starting to play here, 5 pixels. And here we go. Notice a kick down. And what else did we have to do? Let's add some text just to show you what's going on. There we go. Now we have everything equal here. That has to be kicked out a little bit more because we have another 5 pixels here. So it actually can't be 900. It has to be 905, and that will be equal there. So for the footer dimension, keep that there, 905. That will make that even. The banner, I don't want 900. I'm going to bring that in 890 at a guess. Come on. There we go. Save. And again, it's a matter of playing with the measurements. There we go. Got that lined up, that lined up. Another 5 pixels, and everybody should be all set on this. 885. Done. Let's get some text in here. First, we'll just see it here. Perfect. Everything matches up. Let's get some text in here. There's our layout. Equal space, a little bit of sliver in between here. We have a wrapper. Oh, you know, one other thing that I didn't tell you about. What if we wanted to center this whole thing? We can actually center the wrapper on the page, and so I'm going to put text align center semicolon, save, and then we can have div align. There we go. And where are we? Right here. There we go. Now save this. Watch what happens. This whole thing will now, whoops, it should, if I had it on the page right. I don't want to do that. Let's get rid of that. Actually, that's really not good form. For the wrapper, so we just find the width. Okay. I don't want to do that either. I want to put save and refresh, and there we go. So now, anytime you're scrolling it, notice that it's a fixed layout. And again, you can play with this dimension here, but it's a fixed layout that the background browser of the page, you can also change this to a color too, moves when you resize it, but the layout itself doesn't move. That's the type of layout that I really prefer, and that's how you do that. Putting some text in here, you already have your divisions. So from here, you can, here's the banner. I have quickly, I have some text in here. I'm going to put some text in the content. Here's the content of the page. Go back up here. There we go. Here's some content. Refresh. You notice that it automatically goes to the center there. I can, I can make that left justified if I wanted to. For the header, I can put right here. This happens to be. Oops, where are we? Wrapper, banner. There we go. Cell. Save. That's going to pop up there. And here we go. So, there's the banner, there's the content, here's the navigation, here's the footer, so you can go from there. So that's basically how to do a layout, and you can go from there. And hopefully this will help you out. So that's how to do positions, layout, and enter the text.